Good morning.
Good morning, Doctor.
You remember last time we talked about uh, free writing. You remember free writing? يعني we free write our ideas. So if we start with a new topic here, for example, about a holiday or a festival or an event, we have here what we call a 5-paragraph process analysis essay. Then if you want to write a 5-paragraph process analysis essay, this means that when we say process, يعني we should use stages. Stages, you remember stages? You remember the reading passage we read last time about the festival or Bon? You remember that? So after you free write, so we decide what kind of festival or holiday you will write about. Here we can use the graphic organizer you see in front of you here to create a list of preparations and activities in sequential order. In sequential order, in according to the order of occurrence. Look here, the main idea is what day of the dead. Or born, or born. So the question here is how Japanese or how do Japanese celebrate the festival, the Day of the Dead? How? So we have here 3 stages, as you see. Stage 1. In stage 1, what do we do in stage 1? Or what do they do in stage 1? They what? They prepare. You see here stage 1, prepare or preparation. Preparation. What kind of preparation here we have? You see here we have 3 things here. What was prepared? وهنا في عنا preparing the candles, or sorry, buying the candle, buy the candles, then preparing the candles, or we say here buying the candles and buying incense. When you go to the shop, or they go to the shop to buy candles and incense. So after buying candles and incense, okay, so they have to prepare the candles. In stage 1 here, we have what do they do in stage 1? They buy the candles and incense, then they prepare the candles for the festival. Now, this is what the first stage. The second stage, commercial activity. We have what? Commercial activity. What are these activities? في عندنا building stalls. Number 2, buy offerings, اللي هن gifts. And number 3, decorating altars. And these are what? Commercial activities. In stage 2, they have commercial activities such as building stalls, buy offerings or gifts, and then decorating altars. This is stage 2. Now we move to stage 3. Stage 3, we have the celebration itself. So what do people do in this stage or the celebration stage? Actually, they share food, they clean graves, and go to cemetery. Then we say they go to cemetery, clean graves, and share the food after they come from the cemetery. لاحظنا هنا البرينستورمينج في عندنا هنا graphic organizer. طبعا هنا in the middle, if you see here in the middle, what do we have in the middle here? We have what? The topic, اللي هو Day of the Dead. Okay. So the question here is how Japanese, or how do Japanese celebrate the Day of the Dead? How do they celebrate the Day of the Dead? Okay. So here, this is what the topic. And طبعا how, when we say how, يعني في عندنا stages. We see here stage 1. Okay, stage 1. What do Japanese do in stage 1? They buy candles, buy incense, and then they prepare candles. Okay. Then, second stage, the commercial activities. What are these commercial activities? طبعا في عندنا buying stalls, buying offerings, and ايش decorating the altar. Stage 3. Stage 3, we have celebration. What do people do? They first go to the cemetery. Then when they go there, they clean the graves. And finally, they come home and share share food. Yeah. These are the stages of of celebrating the Day of the Dead. Okay. Any question about this? Any question?
No دكتور.
Okay, واضح. إذا هنا process analysis يعني stages. Process analysis يعني stages. Okay. Stages or steps. Okay, good. Now, we go to the next stage. Think the brainstorming vocabulary. When we brainstorm, we have vocabulary. We create vocabulary, or we prepare vocabulary about this event. إذن في عندنا brainstorming vocabulary. Now think about the festival or holiday you will discuss in your essay. Brainstorm words for each of the categories below that are relevant to the celebration. إذن هنا we have what? We have costumes. Costumes. And what kind of costumes do you prepare, for example, for an event or holiday or festival you have?
Like makeup.
Yes, makeup, yes.
Masks.
Yes, maybe.
Or traditional dress.
Yes, traditional dress. You may also have some kind of, if you have an event or celebration that needs masks, so use masks. This is the kind of costumes that you prepare for the festival. What about the food?
Maybe marshmallow.
Marshmallow, yes.
Hamburgers.
Burgers, burgers.
Fast food.
Fast food. Fast food, yes.
Apple pie.
Apple pie, yes, maybe apple pie. Desserts, يعني in general desserts.
Yeah.
ممكن fast food.
Drinks, maybe some drinks.
Some drinks, yes, okay. What kind of music do you prepare? Music.
National anthem.
National anthem, yes.
Folk.
Folk, yeah, folk dances, for example. What else? Maybe folklore songs. Decorations. What kind of decorations do you use?
Balloons.
Balloons, for example.
streamers,
Mm-hmm.
and confetti.
What? Maybe flags if you have national celebration. Balloons. Mm-hmm. Maybe flowers, something like this. Maybe some kind of drawings or pictures or something like this. Mhm. So these are the things that what you think of when brainstorming vocabulary. Then you will be talking about costumes. What kind of costume are you going to put on? Foods. What kind of foods you are going to serve? What kind of music or dance you want to play? What kind of decorations would you like to do? Okay, these are four elements. On here we brainstorming vocabulary and we think of different kinds of these four categories: costumes, foods, music, dance, and decorations. Okay. Now let's talk about the structure of the process analysis essay in terms of organization. In terms of organization. يعني how do we organize a process analysis essay? طبعا the process analysis essay shows logical progression of stages. إذن logical progression of stages that lead to a finished product or end result. إذن these stages بيكونوا إيش logical progression of stages. The purpose of these stages to come up with with the finished product or the result. The process analysis may illustrate natural process. ممكن you talk about photosynthesis, this is natural process, or soil or erosion. إذن في عندنا هنا natural process يعني how does photosynthesis take place, or how does soil erosion occur? And these are natural processes. It may also describe how something is made. مثلا to make food, some kinds of food, or done, such as, for example, baking a cake. How do you bake a cake? Preparing for a festival. How do, for example, you talk about stages of preparing for a festival, or how do you use computer? Also, we have stages of using computer. طبعا as usual, every essay زي ما قلنا has 3 parts. Introduction. طبعا قلنا الانترودكشن فيها 3 elements.
الهوك والباك جراوند
information and
والثيسيس ستيتمنت.
طبعا قلنا الهوك عباره عن نقدر نسميها الهوك جرابر يعني it catches the attention of the reader, and background information helps the reader to understand the process. Okay, so background information helps the reader to understand the process. طبعا thesis statement at the end of the introduction
identifies the process
the
to
process
be explained.
يعني what are we going to explain? What are the stages? Okay. طبعا body paragraphs في عندنا 3 body paragraphs. طبعا قلنا each body paragraph should start with a topic sentence. Okay. إذا مثلا first paragraph نقول the first stage or the first step of the process. إذا you start with the first step or the first stage of the process. Paragraph 2 will be talking about what? Paragraph 2. What is it talking about? When a paragraph 1 will be talking about stage 1 or step 1. Paragraph 2.
Step 2.
Step 2 or stage 2.
Yes.
Okay. Paragraph 3.
Stage number 3.
Stage number 3. Okay. طبعا each stage يعني each يعني 3 paragraphs body paragraphs يعني 3 stages. Each stage is organized into a logical sequence of connected steps. لازم يكون organization ايش؟ logical sequence of connected states يعني stages that are related to one another. طبعا in the body paragraph we use
Facts,
some
examples.
key terms and definitions. You may also use, for example, anecdotes or statistics if you have, or maybe use any kind of illustrations. All the materials needed in the process are mentioned. And what we need for every stage should be what? Should be mentioned in the body paragraphs. The last paragraph, as you know, conclusion. زي ما قلنا conclusion gives a restatement of the process, restatement of the thesis statement طبعا, and it may then include final comment زي ما قلنا evaluation, recommendation, warning, ممكن insight or suggestion. These are the things that the conclusion usually has. Then this is what, how do we organize a process analysis essay? Then the organization of the process analysis essay should be what? In logical sequence of connected steps. Then logical sequence of connected steps. يعني one step doesn't come before the other. طبعا they are what? Ordered, or they are organized in what? In order. يعني according to the time of its happening, okay, or its occurrence. Yani we cannot use, for example, the last step, the first step, or we cannot use the second step instead of the first step. Then these steps or stages should be what? Logically connected. Logically connected. Okay. Now let's look at this essay here and try to find out what kind of process analysis essay here and what it has. Now, read the essay, what happens on the Mexican Day of the Dead. Okay, who would like to read? Dima, yes.
Yes. Day of the Dead celebration. Mexican culture is full of colorful traditions. One of them is the celebration of the Day of the Dead. This special holiday for remembering the dead takes place on November 2nd of every year. On the day, families believe that their dead relatives will return home to eat and drink. In my native town, Puebla, preparation begins 3 weeks before the holiday.
Thank you. This is what? Introduction.
Introduction, yes.
When introduction has 3 elements. The hook, where's the hook here?
The first sentence.
Yes.
Mexican culture is full of colorful traditions.
And this is the hook. هم نسميها ايش؟ grabber. Grabber يعني it catches the attention of the reader. طبعا after the hook we have ايش؟ background information.
Background information.
طبعا هنا لازم ايش؟ يعني introduce the reader about what شو السليبريشن هذا. اوكي. What kind of celebration? نقول dead celebration or day of the dead celebration. طبعا في background information نقول this special holiday for remembering the dead takes place on November the 2nd of every year. إذا هنا it introduces the reader ايش؟ to the what kind of day here. On that day, families believe that their dead relatives will return home to eat and drink. Okay. Then this is what these 2 sentences are.
Background information.
Background information. Look at the last sentence here. In my native town, Puebla, preparation begins 3 weeks before the holiday. What is this?
Thesis statement.
Thesis statement. Okay. Then this is the thesis statement. So preparation begins 3 weeks before the holiday. Okay. إذا في عنا preparations في عنا إيش؟ holiday. إذا the preparation takes place 3 weeks before the holiday. Now body paragraph 1.
أكمل دكتور ولا حدا تاني؟
إذا حد حاب، إذا في حد ثاني حاب تريد he can. Okay.
ما في حد.
Yes. Demon.
Okay. To get ready for this celebration, a number of items must be thought and prepared. People buy big and expensive candles, copal, a kind of incense, and a special native handicraft called an insumerio, in which the copal is burned. Copal is used in many religious ceremonies and on holiday like the Day of the Dead. In addition to buying candles, incense, and copal, people prepare candies, tiny picturesque
Pictures, yes.
sculptures of animals and skulls made of confectionery sugar are prepared and the names of people are engraved on the top. These candies are eaten at the end of the celebration. As a child, eating these candies was my favorite part of the Day of the Dead.
Thank you. خلينا نشوف هنا باراجراف 1 body paragraph 1. احنا هنا لو نعمل لنا مثلا جراف اورجنايزر. اوكي. جراف اورجنايزر. اوكي. هنا لو قلنا مثلا what can we write inside this what's the title? What's the title?
Day of the Dead
Day
celebration.
Day okay of اوكي دي طبعا احنا نحكي عن مكسيكان ها did انا بنحكي عن مكسيكان. احنا المره الماضيه حكينا عن الجابانيز. اوكي خلينا نشوف الفيرست ستيج. شو الفيرست ستيج هنا؟
اللي هي البريبير.
اذا في عندنا هنا طبعا هنا في عندنا نقول ايش؟
بريبير.
هاي ستيج. اوكي ستيج 1 قلنا.
Yes.
ستيج one. اوكي طيب.
Yes.
ستيج 1 في عندنا ايش قلنا بالاول شيء؟
Prepare.
prepare. اوكي اذا we have here prepare. سوري هون prepare ستيج 1 هون we use here prepare. اوكي
Yes.
prepare under stage 1 prepare. هنا في عندنا prepare. شو هنا في عندنا people buy big and expensive candles. شو في عندنا هون before preparation. before preparation what do we have؟ في عندنا buying ولا لا؟
Yes. Buy candles.
buying candles.
و buying incense.
yes buying candles. بعدين اوكي أنا بس candles كوبل. كوبل Cobble. What's cobble here? A kind of ايش؟
A kind of
incense.
incense.
Kind of incense. شو
Yes.
كمان? What do they buy?
And buy incense.
Special native handicrafts called an insumiro. Okay. إذا في عندنا buying what? Candles. What else? Cobble. and ايش؟ هنكون نحطهم هنا ايش؟ in buying كذا buying كذا اوكي؟ إذا buying candles, buying cobble and buying special ايش؟ special native handicrafts بنسميهم ايش؟ insumerio. طبعا why is this boat? Which the cobalt is burned in which إذا cobalt is burned when in Sumero اللي هي اسمها handicraft okay native handicraft. So buying Sumero أو in Sumero to what? To burn the cobalt in. طبعا هنا في عندنا definition للكوبل يعني you may not know what's cobalt okay. Cobalt is used in many religious ceremonies and on holiday like the Day of the Dead. Even in this case, cobble is a kind of what religious ceremony, and it can be used where in holidays like the Day of the Dead. In a religious ceremony. طبعا هنا حكينا عن الباينج. إذا الفيرست طبعا هذا الستيج بالأول باينج أو سوري بريبير. البريبير يعني باينج حكينا شو باينج. Candles, cobble, and what?
Special
and
native handicraft.
insumero.
Yes.
هنا, in addition to buying candles, incense, and cobble, people prepare candles. إذا هسه شو عندنا preparing, okay?
Yes.
Preparation. قلنا stage 1 preparation. طبعا before preparation you buy. يعني if you don't have these things in your house, what should you do? You buy them.
Yes,
okay?
we want to buy.
Then people here prepare candies. Prepare candies. طبعا هاي ممكن candies they make at home, okay? Tiny, picturesque sculptures of animals and skulls made of confectionery sugar are prepared and the names of people are engraved on the top. إذا هاي نوع ايش preparation؟ له tiny, picturesque sculptures of animals and skulls made of confectionery sugar. Kind of what? Of sugar. إذا they are made of what? Sugar. مش من أي شيء ثاني مش sugar. Okay? They are made of sugar. Are ايش؟ Are prepared and the names of the people are what? Are engraved on the top. Then on the top of these confectionery sugar, like skulls and animals, the name, طبعا whose people, whose names?
Engraved.
The dead people طبعا. إذا the names of the dead people are engraved on the top. On the top of these sculptures of animals and skulls. Okay.
Yes.
On these candies معلهم are eaten at the end of the celebration. Then these candies that are or they decorate these sculptures of animals and skulls are eaten. Then they are made of sugar. They are eaten at the end of the festival. As a child, طبعا بحكي عن his experience, eating these candies was my favorite part of the Day of the Dead. As a child, eating these candies was my favorite part of the Day of the Dead. طبعا هاي الauthor or writer, his what? His perception about the holiday. And we moved to the second body paragraph. Okay. Yes, would like to read.
بقدر أكمل دكتور؟
Yeah.
Okay. The local merchants play an important role on this day. Very early on the morning of November 2nd, they start to build stalls to protect themselves and their products from the sunlight. Later, they display their merchandise, which consists of fragrant fruit, colorful flowers, and freshly packed bread. People buy offering for their dead relatives. This offering include a candle, a skull made of sugar, and various types of fruit. These are all placed on an altar. People scatter yellow and red flowers on the ground to form a colorful path, which must be completed by noon. It is an indescribable pleasure to smell
Describable, yes. Mhm.
to smell the exotic scent of the flowers.
Thank you. Then this is the second paragraph. What do we have in the second paragraph at the beginning of the paragraph? The local merchants play an important role on this day. Very early in the morning of November 2nd, they start to build the stalls. Why? To protect themselves and their products from the sunlight. إذن شو second stage or step here?
Commercial activity,
Commercial activities. Commercial activities. What is these what are these activities?
building stalls,
Building stalls. إذن second stage or step, building stalls. Who build these stalls? Local merchants. The local merchants have a very important role on this day. What do they do? On the
They want to
early morning of
building.
November the 2nd, they start to build the stalls. Why do they build these stalls?
To protect themselves and their products from the sunlight.
Yes, to protect themselves. Yeah, like tents. They are like tents. To protect the people and themselves from what? From the sunlight, because I think it is hot there, okay? Later, they display their merchandise, which consists of fragrant fruit, colorful flowers, and freshly baked bread. إذا شو طبعا second step within the stage. إذا أول شيء building stalls. Then what do they do? What do they do?
By offering.
No, before buying. Later they display their merchandise. Then after they build their stalls, what do? They display their merchandise. What kind of merchandise did they have? Fragrant fruit, colorful flowers, and freshly baked bread. هذا نعتبره merchandise. إذن after they build the stalls, then what do? They display their merchandise. What kind of merchandise? Fragrant fruit, colorful flowers, and freshly baked bread. So why do they display these their merchandise? Why? Why? Because people want to buy offerings. And these are kind of what offerings. So the merchants have this merchandise in their stalls. Why? Because people want to buy from this merchandise. People buy offerings for their dead relatives. Then from these stalls, which were built by merchants, people buy gifts or offerings for whom? For their dead relatives. طبعا these offerings or gifts include candle, skull made of sugar, and various type of fruits. Okay, then people buy the merchandise which the merchants display on their stalls. What kind of things or offerings they buy? Candle, skull made of sugar, and various types of fruit. They put these offerings on an altar. They put them on an altar. Now, then people scatter yellow and red flowers on the ground. Then people scatter or throw yellow and red flowers on the ground. Why? To form a colorful path, to make the path colorful. طبعا which must be completed by noon. يعني before noon. It is an indescribable pleasure to smell the exotic scent of the flowers. طبعا these flowers are scattered all over the ground, and it is يعني indescribable. يعني you cannot describe how good these the smell of these exotic scent of flowers. Okay, then stage 2 or step 2. What happens in step or stage 2?
Commercial activities.
Commercial activities like what, for example?
Building
stalls. And inside or in these stalls, what is displayed in these stalls? Merchandise. Merchandise is displayed in these stalls.
Yes.
What kind of merchandise? When a fragrant fruit.
Fragrant fruit, colorful flowers, and freshly packed bread.
So people here in this case buy offerings. What to their dead or for their dead relatives, like for example, candle made of sugar,
skull,
and various type of fruits.
Yes.
And they put these things where? On the altar. Now what do people do then? They scatter yellow and red flowers on the ground to form or to make colorful path.
Colorful path.
And this must be done or finished before noon.
By noon.
So this view is very is undescribable, because you can smell the exotic scent of the flowers.
The flowers.
Okay. Then now we are done with what? With what we call with the second stage, huh?
Yes.
Yes. طيب. Now we move to the next paragraph اللي هي ايش؟ third
stage.
Okay. Who would like to read?
No.
Yes.
At sunset, families go to the cemetery to decorate and watch over the graves of dead relatives. First, the grave is cleaned and covered with flowers. Many people stay awake all night, guarding the grave and keeping the dead company until the sun rises the next day. Hungry families can buy traditional food and drink at the entrance of the cemetery. They offer flowers and candles to their dead relatives.
Oh, thank you. Then, now let's look at the third paragraph. طبعا احنا قلنا
we have 3 body.
Yeah, we have 3 stages here. Third stage here. هنا at sunset. طبعا لاحظتوا قبلها في عندنا
by noon.
by noon. في قبل noon شيء هنا.
early in the morning.
early in the morning. شايفين logical order. بنسميه sequential order. بالأول بدينا in the morning. بعدين قلنا ايش in the after in the by noon. شو كان الساعة؟ sunset.
وهلا sunset.
هون في عندنا logical ايش؟ logical ordering. بدينا بالمورنينج، ما نقدرش نقول بالاول ايش؟ at sunset. اذا لازم يكون الاوردر لوجيكال اوردر او بنسميه سيكونشال. نبدا بالايرلير، ايرلير اللي هي المورنينج، بعدين قلنا نون، then ايش؟ sunset اللي هو at the end of the day. Now what happens at sunset? Families go to the cemetery to decorate and watch over the graves of dead relatives. شو بنقدر نسميها ستيج؟
This stage اللي هو celebrate
ايش؟ celebration of the dead.
Yeah.
Then what do people do to celebrate this occasion? Then at sunset,
families
go to the cemetery. Why?
To decorate and watch
over the graves of dead relatives. Then they decorate what? And watch over the graves of the dead. طبعا في عندنا هنا steps within the stage. Step number 1, first, the grave is cleaned and covered with the flowers. Then the first step is what? to clean and
Clean
cover
and covered with the
the
flowers.
grave with flowers. Many people stay awake all night. Why? Guarding the grave and keeping the dead company until the sun rises the next morning. إذا هنحكي عن rituals يعني هنا. إذا first the grave cleaned or covered with flowers. Now what do people do then? They stay awake all night. Why? إذا guarding. شو يعني guarding? Guarding the grave. يعني بحرسوا. Okay, guarding the grave and keeping the dead company. يعني they think they what? They were what? Combining their dead relatives. Now, how long does this last? Until إيش? The sun
The sun rises next
إذا
day.
from the sunset to the sunrise, what happens? They clean and cover the grave with flowers, and the people stay awake all night guarding the grave and keeping the dead company until the sunrise. Next day. إذا شو صار هنا? Next day. Okay. Sunrise أو قلنا sunset بعدين sunrise the next day.
Sunrise.
Okay. Hungry families and people are hungry there, so they can buy traditional food and drink at the entrance of the cemetery. Then people there buy food and drink and they eat what at the entrance of the cemetery. In this case, they offer flowers and candles to their dead relatives. They offer flowers and candles to their dead relatives. Okay. إذا third stage اللي هي إيش؟ starting the celebration. Starting the celebration. Okay. إذا لاحظنا إحنا هنا في عندنا 3 stages. قلنا number 1 is what? Preparing or preparation. Number 2
commercial activities.
ونمبر 3 celebration itself. لاحظنا في عندنا logical إيش؟ logical order أو sequential order of events.
Yes.
And the last paragraph is what? Conclusion. Now let's see what can we see in the conclusion.
Okay. When the celebration ends, most families share fruit and bread with friends and neighbors because they have put too much. Some of the people who eat the fruit say that the taste is not the same because they did have already eaten the essence. The sweetest part of all the religious celebration in Mexico, this one is observed the most. Also, this holiday requires a lot of planning and preparation. It is a wonderful occasion for Mexican families to reunite and remember their ancestors.
Thank you. And this is the conclusion. When the celebration ends, this is what the end of celebration. What do people do? Most families share fruit and bread with friends and neighbors because they have bought too much. They share the food with the live people, not with the dead here, okay? Because the celebration ended this, okay? So people here bought a lot of fruit and bread, so they share these things they bought with their neighbors. Why? Because they have too much of this. Some of the people who eat the fruit, say what do they say? They say that the taste is not the same. Because they did have already eaten the essence. يعني إنه the taste of the food or the fruit is not what the same. Did already eaten the essence له the sweetest part. يعني they have eaten the sweetest part. اللي ظل it's not sweet. Of all religious celebrations in Mexico, this one is observed the most. This celebration is observed the most among all other celebrations. Although this holiday requires a lot of planning and preparation, it is a wonderful occasion for Mexican families to reunite and remember their ancestors. هنا عبارة عن insight here. Although this holiday requires a lot of planning and preparation, it's a wonderful occasion for Mexican families to reunite, to come together and remember their ancestors or their dead. Okay. لاحظنا هنا بالإسيه We have ايش؟ We have 3 paragraphs, 3 body paragraphs. Each paragraph has ايش؟ Has a topic sentence. في عندنا stages. In each paragraph we have ايش؟ We have a stage. Okay. إذا this is what we call ايش؟ Process analysis essay. إذا ال process analysis essay contains what? Contains
Introduction.
stages أو steps.
Yeah.
طبعا شو لازم تكون steps هاي؟ تكون in the logical order أو sequential order. Okay. Any question about this?
No.
Any question? Okay, if you don't have any question, so we stop today here and see you next week. Have a nice weekend.
يعطيك العافية دكتور.
يعطيك العافية.